You're watching Queen City Collaborative Rebel Radio. I'm your host and CEO, Gwendolyn Bork. Let's not waste any time and get right down to it. Hi, everybody. My name is Gwendolyn Bork, and I am the CEO and owner of Queen City Collaborative. This is where I merge my skills as a financial advisor with an emphasis on impact investing and help our local community, our business owners and individuals here really have a social impact model in their business or in their philanthropic giving. And the objective of this podcast is really to highlight and emphasize organizations or individuals who have pivoted and adapted during this health crisis to fulfill a need, in our community. And today my guest is Jason Barrett. He is the founder of Black Button Distilling. They have multiple locations, and they ultimately pivoted during this health crisis to change from making spirits to making hand sanitizer and fulfilling that need in our community. So, hey, Jason, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Gwen.
All right. So, just so everybody knows, hey, where do you live? Where are your locations? What type of spirits do you create and make? And what are your specialties? And, what can people expect ultimately out of you when they're buying your type of product?
Yeah. So, Gwen, normally, Black Button Distilling is making bourbon cream, which is kind of like an Irish cream. We have a selection of gins as well that are kind of unique. We're a New York State farm distillery that I founded here in Rochester back in 2013. I live a couple miles south of the plant at this point. We do all of our production at 85 Railroad Street, Rochester, New York, right by the public market, right in the heart of the city. And then we have our curbside pickup tasting room in Buffalo at 149 Swan Street. So right down by the ball stadium.
Okay, very good. And what provoked you? Let's just get like a quick little synopsis. Like, what made you want to go into this business? What's your passion behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I started out as a very active home brewer. I was making beer most weekends in my apartment down in DC. I was working for an accounting company, and I ended up with a distillery as a client, and I just fell in love with what they were doing. The craftsmanship and the working with your hands and coaxing those flavors out of the grains and out of the oak. And I've always loved bourbon, so I decided to quit my job, sell my house, go to the West Coast and make bourbon for a living. And after being in Spokane, Washington for a while, I was missing home. There were no distilleries in Rochester, so I decided to start my own to make bourbon the way I wanted to make it. So that was 2013, and we've been making great New York farm distilled spirits ever since.
So just so our viewers know, when you say farm distilled, what does that mean exactly?
So a New York farm distillery has to buy 75% of their raw ingredients here in New York State. We're closer to 95%. All of our grains come from Livingston County near Geneseo. All of our milk comes from Owaka Milk in Batavia, the bourbon cream. And all of our cider comes from the Niagara Escarpment. We work with a couple of cideries up there in Niagara County. So we source local materials, bring them to the distillery, and then ferment them, distill them, and bottle them. And then we work with all the local liquor stores and a few bars and restaurants to bring our products to the public.
So I think what, most people don't realize, or maybe they're realizing it now, is that, there's a benefit to buying local. We're seeing major food disruptions in the chain of distribution. We're seeing major disruption in our shipping channels. And if you have a relationship with somebody locally that can supply your needs, that's where the benefit will always be. So let's pivot right into that. The crisis, the health crisis starts becoming front and center. It's right before St. Patty's Day, one of the biggest, weekends for most of us here in Western New York, for the bars and restaurants and our local community. And schools are shutting down. And next thing you know, it's a major pandemic. What were your thoughts emotionally and on a business level as this started happening to get you to where you're like, yeah, I think I can help?
Yeah, I mean, when the governor asked private businesses to consider closing back there in early March, we decided to start to wind down our production because the fermenters are, the yeast in the fermenters is actually alive. It takes 7 to 10 days for them to complete their full cycle. And we were concerned that if we were under a shelter-in-place order and couldn't get to the facility, what would happen to those fermenters, and it can make a big mess. I mean, think, suds coming out of the washing machine, except thousands of gallons. So we started to put the plant into a shutdown mode. And in talking with the employees and talking about them being out of work, it was really heartbreaking knowing that these guys that I've worked next to, day in and day out for years, were facing the unemployment lines. And so when it became clear that the FDA was going to allow, they were really asking distillers who had expertise in manufacturing and bottling ethanol safely, it really felt like something we needed to do, both to help our community, but also to help our employees. And so we reached out to Rochester Regional Health. We discovered there was a need. So that caused us to make the first 5,000 bottles. And then by the time we had made those, it became clear there was a much greater need. So we actually called back all of our full-time employees, have them all back to work. We actually bought a couple of new bottling lines. And at this point, we are making 70,000 bottles a week of hand sanitizer that we're shipping all across the state and across the nation. And to put that in perspective, normally we would make 4,000 bottles a week of bourbon, and there are basically 2 bottles of alcohol inside each of these bottles of hand sanitizer. It was really like going from 4,000 to the equivalent of 140,000. And the only way to do that was to have the team, really rethink how we work, rethink how we use the space, partner with partners in our supply chain so we could keep those supplies moving in and out. And it's been a full court press from our 83 employees these last 6 weeks to make this happen.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. How many employees? So you had to basically pivot on a dime and ultimately become a supplier of this. I mean, how hard was it to be able to meet the requirements of the FDA for you to provide this type of product to market?
I mean, in some ways, it's more that it's very technical, not difficult. In some way, the FDA guidance is 11 pages, and it's very clear on what you can do and what you can't do. And this, they gave us the recipe. This is what they want to see in it. This is how to put it together. So although, we had to source various, we had to source, large amounts of hydrogen peroxide. We had to source glycerol. We needed to now start sourcing thousands of gallons a day of ethanol. Again, just much larger than what we normally make. We have the equipment and the training and the facility to handle flammable liquids like this. And our team has 7 years of experience doing that. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was more technical than difficult. We just had to be very precise in what we were doing. But once we got into a rhythm, then it was just how do we keep up with them.
I would assume that, like everybody else who's trying to bring in products, for whatever level of their business, relationships are what matters. So, did you already have those relationships to provide those, materials that you needed, or did you just create them on the fly?
A little bit of both. So we had relationships with a large number of the suppliers we're working with, but one of the key components ended up being packaging. And we were very fortunate that the packaging company we are now working with, their vice president of sales happens to live in Rochester, saw what we were doing, offered to help, and their solution was a superior solution. Normally our packaging suppliers all deal in high-end glass bottles because we're making a high-end premium spirit. And the hospitals wanted it to be in plastic, but also wanted a pour control spout so that it didn't just rush out onto people's hands. and we were able to work with that new supplier and form that relationship very quickly in order to meet that need.
So start to finish, you get the FDA guidelines. From the moment that you got those guidelines to, your first shipment out, how long did that take?
About 30 hours.
Wow, that's impressive.
It helped that we had the alcohol on hand, and the first batch went out in our normal glass bottles that, again, we had on hand. We were able to get the glycerol from a local food manufacturer, and the hydrogen peroxide, we actually went to Wegmans and bought large quantities. And that first batch was 5,000 bottles. And by the time we had finished bottling that over 2 days, we had put together a better supply chain. And it went 5,000 the first week, 10,000 the next week, 35,000, 55,000, and now we're at 70,000. And we fear going any more than that because we want to be careful and keep our employees safe. So setting up a new level of production while trying to maintain social distancing, while trying to adhere to all of the OSHA and flammability rules. We've decided 70,000 a week is the maximum we can do safely, which still, considering we usually do 4,000, is quite a change for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that's an impressive number. So how far, what is the ETA if someone were to order? I'm assuming you're probably working more with like hospitals and clinics at this point, but what's the ETA on an order right now?
So at this point, if we were sending pallets to a hospital or something, we're looking at about 7 to 10 days. But we're also reserving a portion of each day's production for curbside pickup, both at our Rochester and our Buffalo tasting room. So we're in Buffalo every Saturday, and somebody would just order on our website. We'd have it for them the next Saturday.
Okay, so let's kind of move into that. Number one, I heard about your story. I appreciate your way of thinking, this innovative design of staying local, using local resources. It was already a part of your business plan, I think, which made it probably that much easier to fulfill the needs, for this sanitizer. But your main goal, again, is really like your passion, which is creating these like high-end spirits. So what do we have to expect really moving forward with your tasting rooms, specifically in Buffalo? That's more my audience. Those are my people.
Yes.
So what can we look forward to?
So luckily, we have reopened our Buffalo tasting room for curbside pickup on Saturdays. Folks would go to our website, blackbuttondistilling.com. We've got a wide selection of both bottles that we make as well as cocktail kits, where we not only are providing the bottle of liquor, but everything you would need to make those cocktails at home. People would simply fill out what they want on our website, check out on the e-commerce store, and then the following Saturday, they would pull up in front of our Buffalo location on 149 Swan Street, give us a quick call. We would then run the order out to their car, place it in their trunk, for contactless delivery. So they'll also, you also can find our bourbon, our gin, and our bourbon cream in pretty much every liquor store throughout Western New York. So if folks didn't want to wait till Saturday, they would just want to give their local liquor store a call and ask for Black Button. And again, we're widely distributed throughout Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, Ithaca, Ellicottville, everywhere down along that way. We've been selling to those liquor stores for 7 years. So
Sure.
A lot of them we've been for a long time.
What are the hours for curbside pickup, Jason?
12 to 5 on Saturdays.
12 to 5 on Saturdays. So let's say it is 12 o'clock and it's a Saturday and someone's like, oh my gosh, I forgot I was supposed to place an order. They're only open from 12 to 5 for pickup. I mean, can you fulfill an order that quickly, or does it have to be in the day before?
So I would recommend at that point that they call, and again, they can get the website off of our they can get our phone number off of our website, blackbuttondistilling.com. At that point, they would want to call and talk to the staff, because we do bring extras of things. We have some supply, and certainly if we have it, we'd be happy to sell it to them and take care of it. But also if we just don't happen to have that particular item in stock, that day, we might not be able to help. But again, I would just encourage people to call, and we'll do our best to get them taken care of.
Another crazy question. What if anybody listening has a local business here and they want to order sanitizer from you? I mean, do you have like a list of, people you're already working with and that's it? Or are you able to work with more local businesses right here in Western New York to supply that need for their clients?
We're definitely able to work with other businesses. I would probably have them email us, sales@blackbuttondistilling.com. That goes to our sales manager, and then depending on how much they're looking to buy, whether it's just a few cases or several pallets, we've sort of taken a divide and conquer approach where certain sales reps are taking care of the smaller orders, certain sales reps are taking care of the larger orders, not because one or the other are more important, but because, smaller orders are easy to take over the phone, just pay by credit card. We have a shipping company a logistics company that's moving them for us at set prices. Whereas if we're sending pallets, we usually have to get a freight quote. And we've shipped as far away as Detroit, and we sent some to a hospital in Louisiana. We've sent some down to Florida. So there are really opportunities for, we're happy to help anybody that needs it. But the farther away you go, usually the volumes need to increase just to make the freight make sense.
Right. But yeah, exactly.
We're happy to help anybody that's in need anywhere, as long as we can get it taken care of. So yeah, just at sales@blackbuttondistilling.com.
Okay. So what do we do, kind of moving forward? There's a lot of, small business owners that I know personally that some of them have been, deemed as essential, and they have, their own parameters right now to keep their employees safe. But with May 15th on, the cusp of a potential reopen, we'll see, right? How do you plan on continuing to produce the sanitizer as a way to, obviously still fulfill this need? Because I don't really foresee this need going away anytime soon. So what are the plans?
We actually believe that as the community starts to open up, there will be a greater need for hand sanitizer as people are out and about moving around and need to protect themselves and those they love. So we're in a good position. We were in the midst of a nationwide expansion when COVID hit. We were opening up the states of Texas, Colorado, Florida, California, Michigan, Maryland, Massachusetts, and New Jersey for additional distribution, like right now. So we have quite a bit of inventory in our warehouse. It was, we had been getting ahead in order to meet that need. Those plans are currently on hold. So we'll be able to continue to fulfill our liquor needs here while we focus on the hand sanitizer. But yeah, as long as there's a need in our community, I feel like a moral obligation for us to be providing this to people to help keep people safe. And again, we have a unique training, equipment, and expertise in handling flammable liquids like this. So we'll keep doing it as long as people need it.
All right. That's fantastic news. I just know that, having these conversations, these business owners are looking ahead, on how to maintain those safety measures for their employees and to kind of ease those fears as they hopefully, start opening the doors to allow employees back in. So it's good to know we have a local resource that, we're not hoping on a prayer that something's going to get shipped to us. I know personally I placed an order with Amazon April 2nd for something, and it keeps getting pushed out all the way now into June. So again,
and the nice part is that it's not just helping our local business, but the ethanol is actually made from New York grown corn. So we're helping local farmers. The label company is in Akron, so we're keeping their employees employed. So it really is, the money is being spent in our community 3, 4, 5 times every dollar that comes in. So that's a huge, huge thing when people support local.
So was it actually labeled do you call it like black button sanitizer? What's the label on it? That's awesome.
Yeah. So
very cool.
The label, 99% of what's on there came from the FDA guidelines, that's specific about what they want to see on there from a legal perspective. And And then we didn't really know what else to call it, so we threw our logo on there since we are the ones making it, and we stand behind what we make. We got a barcode on there so that if it's being sold at retail, because we do have some folks that are reselling it, they'll be able to scan it through a normal cash register. So, it seems to check all the boxes.
Well, listen, I appreciate for your, again, just your innovative approach, your adaptability, the perseverance to kind of keep your people employed, being willing to pivot and stay local, because this could be a very easy opportunity for anybody here who has the capacity to do this, to outsource their materials anywhere else. And I think you are a number one leader in and as an example to show others that, hey, we do have resources right here. You don't need to go somewhere else for cheaper or less money to make money. You can do it right here. You're going to get the support, and this is like a prime example of that. So everybody watching, go get your orders at least, for your Black Button orders downtown on Swan Street on Saturdays, 12 to 5. And then if you have businesses, please reach out to, Jason and his team so that you can place your orders for the sanitizer for your businesses. Prepare. If you get your orders done in advance and it's only a 2-week, 7 to 10 day lead time, why not? That's safety, that's security, knowing that you'll have the resources needed to provide a healthy environment for your employees. And it's May 1st. So, I think if anything, now's the time for these people to act, and get the word out to help take care of their employees. So Jason, thank you so much. Any last minute words of wisdom or, inspiration you want to offer our viewers?
And one thing we've just been asking a lot of people, we've found our way to help. So I always wonder for each other person, what's a way they can help? Is it offering to buy groceries for your elderly neighbor? Or is it donating to your church or local food bank? Or is it just calling a family member who probably is going a little stir crazy inside their walls and talking to them? I think this really is a time we all need to be good to each other. So I just encourage people to look for the ways that they can reach out and help their fellow man.
That's great advice. And so very true. We've unfortunately moved away from this relationship type of culture, more of an isolationist and individually ourselves too. So taking care of our neighbors, taking care of each other, going back to the basics. So good advice. All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time. Keep doing what you're doing, and, however we can support you, we definitely will here in Western New York and my friends out in Rochester. So I hope to see you on a future episode, and you can let us know maybe, how things are going down the line.
Definitely will.
All right. Thanks for your time.